Everyone. It's great to see you all. Do you have a good week? Anybody do anything exciting? I found out my new grandbaby is going to be a boy. That's exciting. I have a new grandchild due in December. So he has a big sister already. So now they'll have one of each, and that's very nice. I have a nephew that's 13 and a niece that's 15. And when I told them that the baby was going to be a boy, my 13-year-old my 13-year-old grandson said, "Oh, I feel so sorry for him. Big sisters are awful." I thought that was pretty funny. Yep. Like I've said, your siblings will be someday your closest friends, but it takes a while to get there. You have to go through a lot of rough time before you arrive at that best friend level. Thank you, guys. It is very exciting news. All right. Anybody have any questions? Anything from last week that you want more information about? We're going to go over a couple things that I know a few of you had some questions about. So let me see if you cannot see that honors biology slide. All right, great. So as always, for the first couple of weeks of the year, we have to go over some business things. So I just want to cover that right away at the beginning here. Please, as a reminder, when you send me a message, make sure that you give me the name of the lesson, the question number, the paragraph, whatever detail you need so that I can help you as quickly as I can. Read it yourself and say, would I know what I was asking if I read this? Most of you are doing a great job with that. It's more my the younger kids that are saying like, I don't understand the quiz. Okay, I need more details than that. So, okay, yeah, Shmuel just asked, I can't come to class on Wednesday. Can I come on Monday? Yes, always, for all of you. You can always come to the Monday class if you can't make it to the Tuesday or the Wednesday. I think it's better if you, when you can, stay with your own section, because then you guys really get to know each other a lot better. But it's one of the advantages of having a course with two sections in it is that, first of all, we have smaller class sizes, and second, we have the option to be able to go whenever you want. Okay, so another thing I want to talk about is this plagiarism check. So I know it's given a few of you a little bit of anxiety. So we all are learning together how this works. This is a new program. Truthfully, I'm struggling with it a little bit. I'm getting kind of frustrated because it'll say 40% match with things on the internet. And I go in and look at what they're actually marking, and it's not even close. So I have to, we're going to have to play around with it a little bit more in order to understand. One thing, for example, if you put the questions down in your response, like if you're doing a test and you have written out the question and then the answer, it's going to match all those questions as being plagiarized from AIM Academy, which is pretty crazy. So there are some errors. What I want to tell you is just don't fret about it. I haven't seen any errors with this class. There haven't been any problems, anything that makes me be concerned. So I'm going to show you one as an example here. Let me pull this up. So this is your course. This is a fake student account that I have. So when we're talking about the plagiarism check, if you go to grades, now this one doesn't have any work done because, like I said, it's a fake student, but I did one for practice. If I were to click on here, on that green arrow, it takes me to the report. Now, the different colors mean different things. So takes me to the report, and it'll say like 3% came from AIM Academy, 2% came from Wikipedia. Well, I didn't go to Wikipedia when I did this, so I know that it's not plagiarized. This is the kind of stuff that I'm seeing. Now, see that 7%? I'm not even going to look at it if it's got less than a 30% match. Don't even worry about it if it's got less than that. If it has more than that, I'll go in and look and see where it came from. And if it's like this, like 2% from all these different places, that doesn't really have any meaning at all. I'll contact you if there's something that I'm concerned about. If you don't hear from me, just don't worry about it at all. And if you know you didn't plagiarize, you don't have to worry anyway, because I'm going to contact you. You're going to tell me you didn't do it. I'm going to believe you. until I have a reason not to. I have no reason not to believe any of you. So that's where we stand now. Shmuel.
I clicked on the green arrow and it went to this site and I plugged in something random from Google Maps and it was and apparently Google Maps has been plagiarized from all over.
Yeah,
Because it gave me like it didn't even give me Google Maps, it gave me like Wikipedia and some random blogs.
right, right. Now that's the problem that we have here. I think probably what's going to happen is I'm going to go back to my old way. So I learn how you write. You know, it takes me a couple of assignments for you to submit them, and then I know what is typical for Lillian, you know, and I would know then if Lillian wrote in a way that wasn't typical. And that's probably what I'll end up doing. But for now, we're going to try this. I just don't want you to get stressed out about it. Okay. All right. Another thing that I want to make sure you guys know is that you make sure that you look ahead at the supplies list for upcoming weeks. So some of the supplies needed are you have to purchase. Most of it, I try to have ones that you can get from home, but every so often there will be something that you might have to buy or order. So don't wait until the very last minute to look at what the supplies list is for the following week. So as an example, in a couple weeks, when we're learning about photosynthesis, we're going to do a lab together here in our live class. And these are the supplies that you're going to need for that lab. You're going to need safety goggles, bromothymol blue, 3 small jars, a drinking straw, a water plant, and water. Now, I'm going to guess most of you don't have bromothymol blue laying around your house. If you have a chemistry kit, you might, but even that, it's probably not going to be there. Well, I've got where you can order the supplies within the materials list. So again, as an example, let's go back here to, let's go to our home. And right here, I just want to show you this so that you'll see it. So we're going to go down to where it says, here. No, that's not it. Here we go. No. Sorry, I don't know where it is. Well, when you look at supplies needed, maybe it's in this one. Supplies needed for chemistry of life and a required lab. So the required ones are usually in blue. That's the Jello enzyme lab that was required that you guys need to do. I'm not sure if maybe I don't have the bromothymol blue one open, but this is the stuff that you're going to need for that. And within the supplies list, it will tell you what you need, where you need to go to buy that. So I've got some links to Amazon. Not sure why this is. Let me see here. If we collapse all. Okay, I got to open that up. I don't have it open right now. So I will open that up and you'll be able to see that supplies list. So just make sure that you don't wait till the last minute is my point. And if you have a question about a supply, then contact me. All right, last thing that I want to talk about, well, one of two last things here. Please don't use where it says grades in order to answer one, find out what you're supposed to do. So see how in the navigation bar on the left here, you can see where it says grades. Some people have told me that they're clicking on that and they're following the list to see what they need to do. The problem with this is by going down this list right here, you might miss something. Not everything is on here. The only thing on this list are the things that are graded. So if there's something like a page or something that doesn't have point value, it's not going to show up here. There might be things show up here that aren't assigned yet. So I don't want you to do that. Where you should be going to see what you have to do, go to where it says modules, and then you can expand all or collapse all. Right here, you can click on that to collapse it and work your way down the list. You can also, from the home page, take a look at this daily assignments. It goes to the same place. Likewise, don't use the course calendar. Course calendar is a good place to go if you've got a lot of classes with AIM Academy to get an idea of what you have due on any given day, but please just use assignments right there. Another cool thing that I wanted to show you that is new now is this meeting summary. So, sorry, a little bit of a frog in my throat here. So if you go to the homepage here, see where it says AIM Academy, click above for class recordings. This is where you can always find the recordings for our live classes. So right, you guys are the Wednesday section. This is our first class. This is our second one. You can click right on this and be able to watch it right here within Canvas. Make it bigger, make it smaller, whatever you need to do. Right underneath that, starting last week, there's a meeting summary. So if you click there, it is an AI generated summary of what we talked about. Now, it will say at the bottom, AI generated content may be inaccurate or misleading. And that's true. There will be some things in there that AI won't get right. It doesn't always. But this, I think, is a good summary. If you say, oh, I remember we talked about the theory of atoms and cell theory, but I can't remember something and you want to remember it, you can go and take a look at it there. All right. Any questions about any of that? All right, terrific. So one more time, this will be the last time. We're going to do a little get acquainted game, just again, so that we can get to know each other a little bit, but answer these questions with 1 or 2, maybe 3 words if you need to. All right, what crazy activity do you dream of trying someday? A movie spree. What's a movie spree? Like just watch a bunch of movies all day long? Yeah, that's fun. Skydiving, tightrope. Wow. It's the first I think I've ever gotten tightrope, Zoe. Using a flamethrower, Luke. Deep diving, Ayub. Have you been diving, like, done snorkeling?
No, I do scuba diving, but
Scuba diving,
I've always
yeah.
wanted to do like lower than 100 meters, like really, really deep.
Wow. Wow. Be very careful. As you know, you have to come back up slowly. Skydiving, I want to skydive. You have a flamethrower, Ruja? I'm not even going to ask why you have a flamethrower. I don't think I want to know that. All right. Excellent. Excellent. All right. Here's your next question. We use it to light fires. Yeah, that'd be good. I used to use a blowtorch. It's kind of a small flamethrower, isn't it? Traveling across the country by train. Wow, that's awesome. Actually, my sister and I are probably going to travel across Canada by train next summer. I'm looking forward to that. We're in the planning stages of it. Like a fire pit. You're right. You're right. All right. What 2 things do you consider yourself to be very good at? You can brag now. Every country in the world. Wow, there's a lot of them. Rock climbing, math and reading, Leo. Rock climbing and being lazy. Rock climbing is definitely not being lazy. Eating and talking about nonsense. I like that one. Unicycling and reading, computers and laziness. Cooking and fighting, figure skating and art. Reading and crocheting. Me too, Eleni. I'd put crocheting on my list. Reading and spacing out, sleeping. Yeah, hopefully we're all good at sleeping. Actually, it's a real gift to be good at sleeping. There are some people who fight insomnia, and that's a rough one. All right, the next obvious question then is, now you have to be humble. What 2 things do you consider yourself to be very bad at? Very bad at doing schoolwork. No, you're not, Leo. I know you well enough to know that's not true. All right, this is going fast now. Getting help. Oh, that's a hard one, isn't it? It is hard to ask for help. Not being paranoid about everything. Studying quickly, public speaking. Best way to do it is to do it a lot. You get better and better at public speaking the more you do. Being energetic, writing essays, humility, getting my work done. Empathizing and procrastinating. Yeah, sleeping, typing, and getting up in the morning. That's not always easy to do. A lot of things. Life, not making silly mistakes. Those are the worst kind, aren't they? You don't mind when you make like an honest mistake that's logical, but when it's one of those, oh, what was I thinking? That's rough. That's rough. All right, couple more questions. What's the weirdest food you've ever eaten? The weirdest food you've ever eaten? Eggplant? Octopus. Oh, I've had octopus from a can, Eleni. You open the can and there are the tentacles and the suckers on them. It's a lot. Fish head, shrimp. Yeah, never looked shrimp in the eye. 1 year expired stomach ache medicine. Wow. Yeah, be careful with expired medicine. Reese's with potato chips inside it. All right. Red bean taiyaki, ostrich. Yeah, Turkish delight, not bad. My strangest one would probably be earthworm cake. I had a student one time make cake with earthworms in it. Brought it to class. Yeah. All right. How about this one? What type of music do you listen to? Classic rock? Classic and musicals, pop and electronic, Japanese pop, everything. Summer pop. What's summer pop? Don't ask. Okay, I won't ask. Classic, K-pop, any just not classical. Interesting. Interesting. All right, last question. What is your most treasured material possession? This is not a living thing now. No people, no pets. Your most treasured. My computer. My piano. Fancy restaurant for my friend's birthday. I got some truffle salad. Oh, books, MacBook, your desk. Yeah. Couldn't do my schoolwork and I would get into trouble. Yeah. Grand piano, laptop. First GI or G? What is that, Abe? Clothes, computer, or favorite stuffed animal? Oh, uniform. Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. All right, everybody. That's fun. All right, let's move along and talk about, so this is one of the questions. I just want to go over this a little bit. A couple of you guys have written to ask me to explain this a little bit better. It's in one of the upcoming lessons or maybe a lesson in the, recent this week. So the question asks for the difference between transpiration in plants and respiration in animals. What I want you to remember in this is that when animals breathe, well, you tell me, when you breathe, what do you take in? What are you breathing in when you breathe? Oxygen's one thing, but there's a lot more than that. Nitrogen, carbon, bit of carbon, CO2. Yep, there's CO2 in the air. Water, yeah, really anything that's in the air, right? You're breathing in air with all those particles in it. There is carbon dioxide in the air that you breathe. So you are taking in carbon dioxide. And when plants take in, they're not just taking in CO2, they're pulling in the air. So that's not a difference. So to say that the difference between plants and transpiration in plants and respiration in animals is that animals take in oxygen and plants take in CO2, that isn't exactly true because concentrations are different. Concentrations change, but we're both breathing in the air. So basically what we're looking for is what's different. What is different in them? And think body parts when you're answering that question. All right. I do want to mention the weekly due dates. So most of you guys, in fact, almost all of you guys are doing really well with the weekly due dates. So please keep up the good work. If you have fallen a little bit behind, don't worry. It's still early in the year. There's plenty of time to get caught up. Just don't fall too far behind. It also is a little too early to come to a conclusion about these weekly due dates. We are doing an experiment together here and we'll check back in a couple weeks and I'll check in with you guys and see how you're doing, see whether you like them. All right, I have a poll that I want you to answer the question right here. All right, do you like the jokes and riddles at the beginning of class? So some people do, some people don't, some people really don't. So I want to know what in general you guys think. All right, I got 10 of 14 of you answered. 12 of 14. All right, I'm gonna end the poll now. 3, 2, 1. All right, here you go. I guess we'll keep them. Yeah, if like 13 of 14 of you said no, this is a waste of time, then we would push them away. But we will keep them. So how about we start with one now? All right. Did you know there's a species of antelope capable of jumping higher than the average house? This is due to its powerful hind legs and the fact that the average house cannot jump. Yeah, right. All right. I didn't never promise they'd be good jokes. Hold on a second here. All right. For the musicians among you, what do you call a pod of musical whales? A pod of musical whales. An orchestra. An orchestra. You don't like that, Ileana? That's a head smacker, right? All right. That is it for today for jokes. I'll see if I can get more for next time. So just a reminder too, when you upload an image, please put the image in. There have been a couple of you who have just put a link in. I've accepted it until now, but I'm not going to be accepting links from now on. So we will use discussion boards a lot, and many of them require pictures. So be sure that you actually upload a picture. The best way to know for sure is go through the process. When you think you're done, go out of that lesson, then go back in and look in the discussion and see if there is an actual picture or just a link to one. The problem is that not all students can see those links. Not everybody can click on one. Yeah, you're right, Rudra. Sometimes it doesn't work. Well, if you follow the instructions that are in that lesson that I've got at the beginning, it will work. Now, it might be that you're trying to upload a file type that Canvas doesn't accept. So some of you have iPads, and if you're taking your picture with your iPad or maybe even your iPhone, it'll save it in a .heic file. Canvas doesn't work really well with those. So if you can take a picture with something else that isn't, or convert it into a different kind of file type. JPEG and GIF are the best for, not GIF, JPEG and PNG are best for Canvas. So you might need to convert it into that one. If you do continue to have trouble, write to me and let me know that, and we'll work something out. Okay, let's talk about this lab. So did any of you guys bring your chart with your lab results? PDF also works, yeah. Well, PDF isn't going to show up as a picture, I don't think. I don't think it will. Shmuel. Oh, you're raising your hand that you brought it?
I also want to say that last week I said that my experiment didn't work at all. Nothing happened, so I brought the package. It was pre-made Jello, so I brought the package with everything that was in there.
Okay, cool. It might be that it was because of the pre-made Jello. You know, that's a possibility. Although the one that I got the video for that was in the lesson, that used pre-made Jello, so I'm not sure. Yeah, Ileana.
For mine, I did it with I didn't use pre-made Jello, but my results were really small in the first 30 minutes, so I just left it on there. And even after an hour, the results were very barely visible. So is that okay?
So every experiment, there isn't an experiment that I'm going to say it's not okay. Sometimes things turn out differently than we think they're going to. And I actually think we learn more from those because it makes us think about it in a deeper way. Like, what could have been the problem? We could troubleshoot. Maybe whatever flavor and color of Jello you used had something in it that prevented the reaction. That's a possibility. Maybe there was some contamination in the way that you made it. That's a possibility too. It could be that it just needed more time. Maybe the temperature or the humidity in the air played a role. So sometimes just thinking through that process, I think, can be a really good learning experience. But either way, if you do a whole experiment and absolutely nothing happens, you can still write a really good lab report. You know, because the lab report isn't dependent on your results. You just have to put your results in. And then in your discussion, you would talk about, here, it didn't work. It didn't work the way I thought. It didn't validate my hypothesis. And here's what I think I might do differently the next time. Those are things that you can do. Eliza.
So when I did my experiment for the first 30 minutes, the results weren't as clear. So I left it for a day, and the results they became really clear. So when I'm doing my lab report, am I allowed to include the whole day and the results I saw after the 30 minutes, or am I
Yep.
only allowed to include the 30?
No, you can include the whole thing. Write the lab report on what you did. If you did leave it longer, include that in your lab report. Yeah, excellent. Shmuel.
I wanted to say that the one of this does not have gelatin, the pre-made Jello.
Really?
So probably why it doesn't work.
Yeah. What's it have? What are the ingredients?
Water, sugar, apple juice from concentrate, less than 2% of carginen, ab adipic acid, citric acid, sodium citrate, potassium citrate, konjac flour, the xanthan gum, natural and artificial flavor, red 40.
All right, so there's no gelatin. That's probably a vegan kind of a Jello. So
Yeah.
there are ones. So the carrageenan and the xanthan gum, those are thickeners. So that's what's giving it that thickness. That's exactly why it didn't work. See, this is an example of how you learn something that you wouldn't have learned if it happened exactly the way you thought it was going to. So yeah, I love that. All right, there's a whole lot of text here that I'm missing. If anybody asks something that I missed in the thing, ask it again because I wasn't seeing that. So all right, let's take a look here. I did a little video synopsis of that lab. I want to have you take a look at this. So there's no words or a voice with this. It starts out by talking about the materials there, what's used, and then how the lab was set up. So you can see there, that's pre-made Jello in those cups. And the fresh, frozen, and canned pineapple on the right. The control is over on the left. After 5 minutes, these are the results. This is not me, that I got this off the internet, but this is the results. So the fresh, it's sliding around a little bit. The frozen, it's pretty still, and the canned, it's pretty still. Now this one went on for that full 30 minutes, but I didn't film it every time. So the control is still firm after 30 minutes. The fresh is sliding around a little bit on there after 30 minutes. The frozen, still pretty firm, and the canned is still pretty firm on there. Now, this is the chart, and these are the results that I got when I ran the experiment. So my control stayed firm the whole time. So did the canned, stayed firm the whole time. Over time, the frozen began to slide a little bit, just a little bit on the Jello. The fresh was the one that had the most results. Started sliding after 10 minutes and slid more and more and more as we went on. Now, like I said, those of you who got different results from that, there's a lot of reasons why. So frozen slid a lot for Zoe. Yeah. So there's a lot of variation here. So what pineapple has in it is a combination of two enzymes. It's bromelain is the chemical. The bromelain is made up of two different kinds of enzymes that are called proteases. Remember, anything that ends in ASE is almost always an enzyme, and almost all enzymes end in ASE. There are exceptions, but it's a good general rule. Well, what do you think protease breaks down? What do you think protease might do? You were just supposed to check for whatever there was, Lillian. It could be sinking. It could be the amount of liquid that was around it, whatever it was that you observed. Yep. So a protease breaks down protein. So this enzyme causes a reaction within the protein collagen. Collagen is a very common protein in living things. And up to half the protein in a pineapple is this bromelain, the proteases that break down the protein. So plants have these in them because they need to be able to respond to things that happen in the environment, maybe predators. They might need to produce more of these proteases when germination needs to occur. They need to break down the part of the plant that lets the plant itself come out of the seed. They might need to produce protease for ripening of the fruit. Maybe they're going to produce that when the cell itself is damaged and needs to die. So that protease then would cause programmed cell death. We produce proteases in our digestive system to break down the protein that we eat. So the protein in the food that we eat. All right, now this one also went more than it took it on to 24 hours. So I didn't require that, but this will show you what happens when you can take this experiment a little bit farther. And it's a good example of how sometimes we want to do that. Now, let's take a look at what happened after 24 hours.
Control is still firm. There's no change. The fresh one, as you can see, the pineapple has sunk. It's actually halfway in the gelatin. The frozen one, has some movement, and there's some digestion of the protein in gelatin by the enzymes bromelain. For the canned pineapple, there's still no movement. It doesn't glide over the gelatin, and it's still the same.
So when that fresh pineapple is added to Jell-O, that bromelain breaks those collagen protein particles down into smaller pieces. Once they're broken down, they can't trap water anymore. And it's the water within the fibers of the collagen that give you that gelatin shape, that jiggly form that it has. Once those long protein chains collapse, everything becomes watery again. Now, canned pineapple, in general, doesn't do that. Usually canned pineapple doesn't cause it to break down. And the reason is because they use heat in the process of making canned food. So when they heat it up to can the food, it destroys the bromelain. It inactivates it. Now we call that denaturing. We denature the protein. So remember what a protein is. It's a bunch of amino acids in a long string, and then it twists up in a particular way. All we have to do is twist it a different way, and that protein doesn't do the same thing anymore. So when you untwist it or twist it a different way, it's called denaturing. It's what happens when you cook an egg. When you drop an egg into a frying pan, the white part of it is all clear and real shiny. And then as you cook it, it becomes white and solid. It's been denatured. The protein in that egg white has been denatured. Now there's also other fruits that contain bromelain. Kiwi is one, papaya is another. You can't use those when you make Jell-O. If you put kiwi, fresh kiwi into a Jell-O salad or some kind of Jell-O dessert, then it's not going to gel. It'll break down those protein fibers. All right, we're going to move really quickly through this writing a lab report. This is important, but I want to make sure we have time to get to the interactive that we're going to do today. So I gave you that outline to fill out. Hopefully you have that. You printed it. You can just fill out the blanks that are in there as we go through this. So a lab report is a way that we explain what was done in an experiment. And we want to make sure we're doing it in a way that allows someone else to reproduce the experiment exactly as it was done. Someone should be able to take your lab report and with you not even in the room, be able to do exactly what you did without asking. So you want that much detail. Here's what's in a lab report. What you think will happen, that's your hypothesis. What you used, that's your materials. How you used it, that's your procedure. The results that you got, that's your data. What you think about the results, that's your discussion. And then what you can conclude based on the results, which of course is the conclusion. And lab reports are not just busy work. A written report is one of the main ways that scientists share information with one another. So this is an important thing to know how to do. When you're writing a lab report, strive for clarity and accuracy and be as concise as possible. So in other classes, you might want to be imaginative in the way you write it. You want to use artistry in the way you write your papers. That's not true with a lab report. We want it to be as clear and concise as it possibly can be. So this is not the time to try to use a lot of words. So you want to be basically the more concise you can be, the better. A lot of background information is not necessary. It actually will take away from the impact of your lab. And we don't want to use personal pronouns when we're writing a lab report. Don't use I did this, we did this. Instead of saying I took the pineapple and placed it on top of the Jell-O, you can say a chunk of pineapple was placed on the Jell-O. Don't use personal pronouns when you're writing a lab report. Think of it as a technical document. So you don't want to use pronouns in that. You do, though, want to use good grammar, spelling, and punctuation. Don't use slang words like awesome and cool and crazy and chill and amazing, those kind of words. Now, your lab might have been amazing, but you don't want to write that in your lab report. Ileana.
So should we use passive voice in our
Yes.
lab?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Shumel.
Should we have a heading and if we're citing or something, like in general, what should we use? Are we using MLA or APA?
So different teachers are going to want different things. I don't require that much formality in my lab reports. So you don't have to use either one of those styles. You just have to make sure you have all the headings. Let me finish talking about it, and then I may answer your question. And if I don't, when we get to the end, then I will. All right, so what are the parts of a lab report? The first part is the title. The title tells what you did. It shouldn't be long. It should be 10 words or less and describe the major point of the experiment. Sometimes the title is given to you. Like maybe the title of the experiment that I give you to do is comparing concentrations of sugar in water for plants. If that's the name of the experiment, you might use that as the name of your lab report. Sometimes it's not. Whatever it is, though, you want to be as concise as you can. Don't use cute, creative, flowery language. This is a technical document. The second part of the lab report is an introduction. Sometimes it's called the purpose. It basically tells you why you're doing the experiment, other than it was required, right? There's a reason, there's something you are wanting to learn. So it will give some background information. In this one, the background information might be talking about what bromelain is. What does bromelain do to collagen? What's in Jell-O? Those would be good background things to put into your lab report. It discusses what was done and why it was done. So briefly, you're going to kind of like, you know how when you're writing a 5-paragraph essay, your first sentence tells what you're going to say, the middle says what you tells the thing, and then the end tells what you told. It's kind of like that. It's telling what's going to be done here. You want to use third person past tense. So you're not using first person, talking about I. This is also where you state your hypothesis. If you can, you put your hypothesis in if-then format. You can't always, but you want to try to if you can, because like we talked about before, it tells you what you're going to do and what you're going to look for. Then we have a materials list. This tells the reader exactly what was used to perform the experiment. It's highly detailed enough to allow another scientist to reproduce the experiment. Don't use a paragraph. It's just too hard to read. You want to use a numbered or bulleted list. Think of it like a recipe. There's steps that you follow. It's going to be the materials are going to be in a numbered or bulleted list. You don't want to use the materials that are possibilities. You know, like if I assign an experiment to you and tell you to use, you know, some kind of seed, you can use either bean, corn, or wheat. You're not going to put bean, corn, and wheat in your materials list because you didn't use all three. You're going to put the one you used. So this tells exactly what you used. If it says use either a test tube or a jar, don't put down test tube or jar. Put down what you used. Eliza.
For the hypothesis, do we write like, for example, in the Jell-O enzyme experiment, we had like 4 different, the control, the like frozen, canned, and fresh. Do we write our hypothesis for what's going to happen to each one, or do we write an overall like hypothesis?
I'm going to leave that entirely up to you, and I'll accept either way.
Okay.
Yep, you could have like a 4-part hypothesis, or you could have a 1-part. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it, and whatever you do, as long as it is a hypothesis, I will accept it. Okay, so next step after materials is procedure. This again tells exactly what was done, highly detailed. Third person past tense, do not use a paragraph, instead use a numbered or bulleted list. Once again, you want to use what you want to say what you did. You know, if I give you 3 options for things you can do, don't put all 3 of them in your procedure. Put the one that you used, that you actually did. Then after procedure, we have data. Now the data section will include any data or observations that were made in the experiment. You can use tables and graphs. In fact, if you ever can, it's a good idea to do. Diagrams are often helpful. If tables or diagrams are used, give them a title. Label them so that you can refer to them in your discussion, especially if you have more than one. The data section should include only the information you recorded when you did the experiment. No talking about it in this. It is data and data only, just the results. When you use words, use third person and past tense. For this lab report, the only thing you need to put in your data section is that chart. That's all. That's your data. You don't need to talk about the data here. You just need to put that chart in there that I gave you, the table. Then the discussion. Now, the discussion is the fun part, I think. This is where you can logically think through your data. You can interpret your data. If your results were unexpected, you can explain why you think you might have gotten the data you did. If you had a lab where nothing worked the way you thought correctly, you can still write an excellent lab report. You just explain what results you expected, what might have gone wrong, and what you could do differently in the future. Now, you will have some teachers who will want this part to be third person and past tense as well. I like there to be first person. I like you to talk through it as if you're saying, I did this and this is what I think. And, you know, again, this is different teachers have different expectations. Just avoid any opinions, avoid any emotions when you're talking about it. It's still a technical document. It's just, this is the part where you can sort of discuss with yourself what is going on. Shmuel.
For the data, should we like write out the table, or should we just put in the type up the table like in an actual
Type up the table. You can take a picture of it and put it in your report. You can do a screenshot and whatever program you use to copy to make little things. Just the table itself is all you need. However you want to get it in there is fine. Just don't put like a paragraph that says, when I did the control at 5 minutes, the control was not sliding. At 10 minutes, the control was not sliding. At 15 minutes, that would be this long and it would give really no information. It'd be hard to find it. The table shows you very clearly what happened in a very easy to understand way. Lillian. I think you froze, Lillian. All right, so after the discussion, then you have your conclusion. So it is often a single paragraph and a brief summary of what happened in the experiment, whether it supported the hypothesis and what that means. The results are briefly stated again, not, the whole thing. You don't need to put your table in there, but you can briefly kind of tell what happened. Any errors in the experiment are briefly stated again. Use third person and past tense. All right. And then if you used any references, this is where you're going to include them. I don't have a format I want you to use for references. You can just say, as a reference, I use this website or I use this book. Okay, here they are again, reminders. This is a technical document. Be concise. No catchy or creative language should be used. Third person past tense everywhere with the discussion. You might be tempted to copy some information straight out of the instructions, like a materials list or procedure. Remember that word for word copying is plagiarism. You need to put this information in your own words. You must be specific about what you did, not what you could have done or what options you had for the lab. For example, you must put the supplies you used in the lab, not the possible supplies that I told you you could choose from. Label other parts of the lab report. Yeah, so these are the labels you're going to use right here. This is a rubric. This rubric is in the lesson where you will submit your lab report. So please use this as you write up your lab report. It'll guide you and help you to get the highest score possible. And these lab reports are worth 50 points. That's a lot. That's as much as more than some of the exams that you'll do. So do your best. They're important. You'll have 4 of them this year. 2 first semester, 2 second semester. This first one, I'm going to be real gracious in the way that I grade it. This may be the first lab report you've ever written up. I'm not going to be really strict and hard on it, but I'm going to use it as a learning experience. Future lab reports, I'll grade a little bit more stringently. So take a look. No need to read all this. All you need to do is, what do I have to do to be excellent? What do I have to do to get the highest grade? A title accurately describes the main point of the experiment. Purpose or introduction. The reason for the investigation is concise, accurately, and thoroughly stated. Your hypothesis is clearly stated and testable. Your materials list is numbered. If you give me a list that is not numbered, you will get 4 points instead of 5. Your procedure has to be clear, step-by-step, numbered instructions with enough detail to allow someone else to duplicate it. If it's not numbered, you're not going to get the full 7 points. Ileana.
Is there like a specific format that you want for title, or can it be like just the same size? Does it have to be bolded or anything?
No, I mean, sometimes it's helpful if you separate these sections, like you say title and then write your title, or especially for when we get down to materials procedure, it's helpful, but it's not required. Just so I can figure out, I need to be able to figure out what you're trying to say. The best way that you can get for me to figure it out. Again, I don't, this is not an English class, so I'm not making you use MLA format in the way that you write this. I'm sure an English teacher would not be happy with me for saying that, but I'm more about the science behind this and teaching you how to communicate the experiment that you did and the results that you got. All right, so then the next part of the rubric is this: your data clearly and thoroughly communicates the results of the experiment, is well organized, and sticks only to the facts. All right, so you put that chart in there, that meets that need. The discussion, clearly written, description of results, comparing controls and variables. You compare your control to your variable. Interpreting the data accurately includes a discussion of errors and possible improvements that might be made to future experimentation. You put all those things in there, you're going to get the full 8 points for that. Your conclusion clearly explains whether or not your hypothesis was accepted or rejected, and it uses data to support that conclusion. And I'm looking for good spelling and grammar in this. All right, and that's it. That's your rubric. So follow that. It will help you to be able to write the best lab report that you can. As you're writing it, before you submit it, if you have any questions, contact me. Be happy to answer any questions that you have. All right, anybody have any questions about the lab or the lab report? Shmuel.
Is it like one-time thing? Like if I do something like I misunderstood something, is it like one time and blow it all, or like can I submit it again?
You can only submit it once. Let me get as an example. Let's say as an example, you submit your materials list and you didn't number it. You are going to get 4 points for that. You don't get a chance. I'm not going to write to you and say, oh, you didn't number your materials list or bullet your materials list. So, if however, trying to think of where there might be, let's say in your discussion, it's a really well-written discussion, but you don't put anything about future experimentation in there. If it's well-written, you're still going to get that full 8 points. Right. So, but yeah, it's a one-time thing. So let me just back up and talk about that. Why don't I give 2 chances for all of these things? I've been teaching for 40 years. I've been teaching online for 25 years now. One thing that I have learned is that if students get a second chance, they tend to not do their best the first time. You guys are honors students. You are probably all headed to college. There are no colleges that are going to give you 2 attempts at anything that you do. You need to learn to do your best the first time. And I want you to learn that here. So that's what I think. Now, that said, are there exceptions to that? Sure. If you write to me and you say, I had 104-degree fever when I was doing this lab report and I completely skipped the discussion in the conclusion section, do I have a chance to do it again? Yeah, I'm gonna give you a chance to do it again. I'm gonna give you a chance to do those again. I'm not trying to be mean here or catch you in anything. I want you to learn. I want to help as much as I can. So we'll take each case individually as needed. All right. Let's move on quickly. We're not going to have a lot of time to go through this enzyme interactive that we're going to do, but I do want to get it set up. So maybe that's all we'll get to today, is getting it set up, and that's okay if that's what we do. So let me pull this in. So what you're going to do is I'll type it into the chat so that you can copy and paste it if you want to. www.pivotinteractives.com, and you're going to type in this code 4. It's an uppercase on the thing there. I need to change that. You need to put a lowercase. 8C5801. Okay, so 4 little f, 8 little c, 5801. All right, so I'm going to show you what you're going to do now. When you get here to this Pivot Interactives, www.pivotinteractives.com. Up here at the top, you'll see where it says Students Join a Class. Click that. Join a class. It will take you here to the class key. You copy and paste the class key, or you can type it in if you want. There it is. And this will come up. Class name, AIM Academy Biology, Instructor Joseph. For future lessons, it'll say AIM Academy Honors Biology, but I'm using this for both classes to set this up. All right, once you're there, click confirm. Is anybody not here? Anybody confused? Okay, now you're going to click where it says create a new Pivot Interactive account. It's in blue right here. Click on that. Choose create account with email and password. Now this is where you put in the email address that your parents want you to use. You put in the email address, you put it in again. Use your real first name and last name, no nicknames here. I will at some point assign these, a couple of these at least, for a grade, and I need to know who you are in order to give you the credit for it. So put in your real first name, your real last name, and then choose a password. Make it something you can remember. Write it down somewhere, just in case, although there's a recovery if you, they'll send it to your email address if you do forget your password. All right, once you've done that, click create account. I can't do that because I don't want to create another account. All right, so what you're going to get when you log in. All right, so this is my teacher one. I made an account, good. Excellent, excellent. All right, so I'm gonna go to these activities. You should have a one that comes up. It should be just, it won't look exactly like this, but it'll say copy of intro to enzymes. Y'all see that? Once you've successfully made your account, it should say intro, copy of intro to enzymes. All right, you're gonna click on that and it should take you to a page that looks very similar to this. Okay, now we have 3 minutes left here. So I'm going to go as fast as I can. We're not going to work through this together. But what I would like you guys to do is at some point in the next week, try to do this. Again, it's not for a grade. So if you don't have time, that's fine. This one has 45 questions that it asks as you go through. When I assign them, they will not have 45. I'll delete a lot of the ones. This is just a training one to kind of help you learn how to do it. So what you do first, this has 4 parts. Do part 1 first. It gives a little instructions right here. And then you go down, you do number 1, choose the correct answer. So let's look at it. Starch is a complex carbohydrate that plants create to store energy. In the below video, we see starch mixed with water in a test tube. Then the chemical IKI and more water is added. So let's look, this is a negative control. Let's watch it for just a minute. Okay, this is the first question. Observe the negative control in the interactive. A 1% starch solution and then IKI indicators added. Finally, a small amount of water is added. First thing we're going to do, identify the color of the starch before IKI is added. So what color is the starch right now? We can tell by looking at it, it is cloudy white. So we click cloudy white and it tells us correct. We've got it correct. Now we go down to number 2. We're going to continue observing the negative control. We're going to identify the color of the starch solution when we put the IKI in. So let's continue observing. Watch when the IKI goes in. Okay, we just put the IKI in. Now what color is it? You pick the right answer. Click on the right answer. Check your submit. And then go down to the next one. Now we're going to add more water. So let's continue observing the negative control. Watch when the water splashes in. Water splashed in. Now what color is it? Check your answer. You continue doing this all the way down. Getting all of these, doing what it says and then answering the questions about it. It really walks you through step by step how to do this. When you get to the bottom of part 1, you have to lock and continue. So you want to make sure that you lock and continue, and then you can move into part 2. If you do it like for 5 minutes and you don't have time to finish it, not this one, but future ones, up at the top on the student one, there's a place that you can save and exit. That saves your work so you don't lose what you've done in the middle. So make sure that you save and exit. And then when you're all the way done with it, you're going to submit it. Now this one, you're not going to submit for grading. Future ones though, you might submit for grading. I'm sorry we didn't have time to go through this. Let me think about it. We may start class next week doing this one, but I think you guys can probably figure out how this works. Why don't you do that? Why don't you try, you're a little bit confused. Okay, I got a couple messages. 2 of you just wrote to say it's confusing. So let's pause this. We'll start next class with it. Okay, so you don't have to do anything more now. We'll start next class. We'll go through it to make sure you know. I want to make sure you know how to do it because it's a very, very cool interactive tool. It's a good way to do labs when you're online. For the most part, what I'm going to use this for is supplemental. Like if you want to know more about enzymes, do this Pivot Interactive. There may be some that I have you do that are not graded, but I really want you to do. And there may be a couple, there will be a couple that I have you do that are graded. And we may do a couple in our live classes together because they're a good way to like see it, to see things in action. I don't want this to just be read the book and answer the questions. I want it to be more of an interactive class. So we'll start next time with this, this Pivot Interactive. Okay? Anybody have any questions? All right. Have a wonderful week. I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.